beware the fury of silent people. And I'm sure that the Tanzanian politician will now think very differently. They used to think that this was only a Kenyan thing or a Ugandan thing. No, it is a human thing. Protest is the language of the unheard.
Yes.
When people lose fear and they are prepared to put their lives on the line, you who is in position of leadership must now ask, what am I doing wrong? Not what they are doing wrong.
Prof, that's a very, very good segue to what's happening now in Tanzania. One of my heroes is Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. What's happening now is, what do you think? What do you think?
I love Tanzania, and I love Mwalimu Nyerere. Worked under him. I had good relationship with John Joseph Pombe Magufuli.
Yes.
And it pains me to no end that that country, the only African country which, in my view, had succeeded fighting and almost killing ethnicity, where men and women were beginning to be judged on merit, that has found itself in this space. It is, in my view, as a result of what I call political paranoia. The current leadership simply got into the space which was dangerous. It became too hypersensitive to criticism. But once you are in a position of leadership, you must be criticized. No matter what you do, you'll be criticized. And I've said this rather hyperbolically. Even in heaven, God himself had to confront with the Lucifer who was criticizing him and even raising an army against him, if what is in the Bible is to be believed, and it is believed. If what is in the Torah is to be believed, and it is to be believed. So, detaining people, jailing opponents is the wrong way. Nyerere himself used to say that democracy, however understood, is a competition of ideas. You put your ideas into the market of political competition, is a buffet of ideas. Then the people will choose. In any event, I still hold the view. Even if elections were held and all these opposition leaders were to be allowed to campaign, CCM would still beat them. Because CCM is rooted in the villages and hamlets of Tanzania. But because you stop them from participating in the electoral process, because their leaders were in jail, now they have the moral high ground. It is unfortunate. And my hope and prayer is that the administration of President Samia Suluhu Hassan will enter into a political rapprochement which will entail welcoming all political leaders to discuss Tanzania. Because Tanzania is no longer the same. After the events of 29th of October, when people spill blood for whatever reason, a country is never the same. And wisdom not only requires and demands that there is a meeting, that Tanzanian political parties and players come and reason together for the sake of Tanzania. It is necessary that it is done, and I hope that it will be done.
So I mean, the reports are saying 700 dead, and I mean, it's crazy.
Even one life is too many.
One life is too many.
Yeah. One life is too many, because all these could have been prevented. Politics must be a competition of ideas. And sustainable power must spring from the ballot box, not from the barrel of the gun, unless it is absolutely necessary. So it is not easy, perhaps easier said than done, but I hope that reason will prevail And I hope that people will look at the future of Tanzania, the United Republic of Tanzania, as being more paramount than their short-term political interests.
You know, Prof, I always say this, there's no reason whatsoever for a leader to kill people to remain in power. There's no reason.
There is no reason.
There's no reason, especially when you're using the power to not even do good for the people, to benefit yourself. There's no reason why. And I even last year when we were in the streets, I was like, why are you killing people to remain in power?
Let me tell you, protest is the language of the unheard. When you hear people through normal discourse, they'll never protest. When you see people go to the streets in any country, it means that they are unheard. Therefore, they are going the extra mile. Because the natural instinct of all human beings is self-preservation.
Yes.
When people lose fear and they are prepared to put their lives on the line, you who is in position of leadership must now ask, what am I doing wrong? Not what they are doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? That is the relevant question. And once you ask that question legitimately and you heard them, then it is your duty to engage them and find out what it is that you are doing wrong. But the politics of self-righteousness, the wise say that worse than ignorance is arrogance. And when you listen to many so-called African leaders, they are swimming in the sea of arrogance and drinking the waters of self-righteousness with which they are now drunk. And their desire is to seek power by any means necessary and to preserve it by any means necessary. When that is your mantra, you lead your country through a shortcut to chaos. And for what?
For what?
To what end?
Yeah. But what I see that is very promising is the rise of the youth, especially the Gen Zs. I mean, I'm very proud of my generation because one thing about Gen Z that I can say is that we are fearless. What do you think about the Gen Z uprisings in Morocco, in Madagascar, and now even Tanzanians? I see a lot of youth. What do you think? What do you think?
I'm a little bit more measured. I appreciate what is happening. But throughout the ages, every generation, the young of every generation have been the engines of change. Look at Africa. It is the young people in Africa who are in the forefront of the struggle for independence in all countries. Whether you are talking Kenya, they may not have been called Gen Zs.
Yeah.
They may have been, Gen Zs came only the other day when Jean-Marie Twang wrote her thesis in the United States of America. But there was always a young generation, whether it was in South Africa, Solomon Mahlangu, Bantu Stephen Biko, they were young. Whether it was in Mozambique, it was Samora and Eduardo Mondlane. Whether it was in Swapo, in Namibia, it was Andimba Toivo, Sam Luyoma, or in Angola with people like Agustino Neto, in Zambia, Kaunda, Kapwepwe, in Kenya, Mboya, and all these. So the young generation have always been present at all times. So this generation is playing its rightful role. The Gen Z, as they are called, they are just playing their rightful role, the role that they ought to play, because history has also demonstrated that many people in power, particularly in Africa, become victims of arrogance. And you can see it. In Kenya, for example, you've seen the emergence of what I call the politics of money and money bags. The politics of the mobilization and animation of ethnicity as the process of conducting political affairs. You saw it, the arrogance in Madagascar, the arrogance in Cameroon, the arrogance in Morocco, the arrogance in Tunisia that gave birth to the Arab Spring. So it is true that this generation is playing its part. This is not the first time that young people have risen in the continent of Africa or the world. Even if you go to the rest of the world, the young Turks in Turkey in 1908, if you go to the French Revolution and much more recently, the student riots in 1960 in France. So young people have always been the engine of change throughout the ages. And as somebody once said, I can't remember exactly who said, but if you are not a revolutionary in your youth, it's Ernesto Che Guevara, then you don't deserve living. So it is the duty of this generation to up the ante and make demands of the political class, particularly when the political class is arrogant, when the political class thinks that they can use material things to buy and retain their positions to the detriment of the people, and then they give people little pieces of things in order to confuse them without addressing the core issues. It is the duty of young people to call them out and to do what is done. And in that regard, I must say that the Kenyan young people did a very good thing. They removed the cataracts from the eyes of the politician. And of course, unfortunately, their activities and actions were torpedoed by the political class, who then entered into negotiations and postponed the changes that we truly desired. But of course, the baton has been picked. The baton was picked in Bangladesh to the end. The baton was picked in Nepal to the end. The baton was picked in Madagascar to the end. It means that it can be done, and it must be done. And the politicians must be reminded at all times that they do not have the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom, and that the positions they hold are positions of trust, and they ought to behave like trustees. Unfortunately, the memory of your typical African politician is not very different from the memory of a warthog and a mosquito. So I say that with all due respect.
Prof, you know, when I was looking at what's happening in Tanzania, I thought to myself, wow, you know, we know Tanzanians for being calm, for being, you know, for being just calm people. I never thought that Tanzanians could turn up like this. And it just goes to show you that if Tanzanians can do it, then I think they've reached the core, and I think they've reached the boiling point of their anger and of their jadedness and of their willingness to change the country. I mean, like, I'm surprised. Are you?
You know, beware the fury of a silent person. And there is a saying from Ghana in the Twi language that when you run after a coward for too long, you'll soon meet his or her courage. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I am.
And that is what happens. When you think that a people cannot do certain things, people get to a stage where they are completely dissatisfied. And what happened in Tanzania, particularly in urban areas, this is what opposition in many countries always has greater appeal in urban Africa. And one can understand that is where unemployment is. That is where problems of food, housing are to be found. Rural Africa is in many ways detached from the economy. So they never bear the brunt of bad governance in a direct way. They still fetch water in the rivers, they can still till their land and not connected. But people in urban Africa are directly affected by bad governance because they see electricity in big buildings and they don't have electricity in their places of stay. They don't have water, they need money to survive. And therefore, many African governments must always remember that as people and as Africa gets a lot more urbanized, people are not asking for Ferraris. No, people are asking for water. People are asking for electricity. Young men and women who are leaving school are asking for opportunities either for employment or invention or innovation. That is what they're asking for. They are not asking for many things. And when they see the politicians increasing their salaries and stealing public funds, they get offended. They see their own age mates who were elected into office and without any effort are now the ones distributing money to them and having high quality beverages of an alcoholic nature. Then they get annoyed. Then even if they were as cool as cucumber, they lose their calmness. And when that happens, when fear is conquered, oh, there is no limit to what the human being is capable of. Beware the fury of silent people. And I'm sure that the Tanzanian politician will now think very differently. They used to think that this was only a Kenyan thing or a Ugandan thing. No, it is a human thing.
Wow. Prof, now as we look at what's happening in Africa, for me, the good examples of African leadership, of course, Captain Traoré, the whole Sahel, Chiani and Goita, Boko from Botswana, Mama Nandi from Namibia. At least we can, at least there are some few people who we can say that, you know what, there's some hope in here. What do you think about
I'm
those
a little
names?
bit measured in when people say that this is the example. I'm a little bit more measured. I say certain good things are happening. It is our duty to make them better and to institutionalize them. I'm one who does not believe in these messianic leaders where you have a Moses with a rod and staff coming to part our Red Seas and to summon manna from heaven and bring forth pillars of fire and frogs to the Pharaoh. No, I believe in institutions. And Nyerere puts it so very well many years ago that you are not successful until your successor succeeds. The life of a nation must never be judged in small episodes. An episode of 5 years, an episode of 6 years. No, it must be judged in the continuum of history. Do we hear good rhetoric from Namibia? Yes. Are there attempts to do certain things? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Botswana? Yes. Are there attempts to do good things? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Mali? Yes. Are there attempts to do certain things to delink from the French? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Burkina Faso? Yes. Attempts to delink from the parasitic French? Yes. But that is not enough to say this is good. That is enough to say the beginning is good. Now, how do we institutionalize and sustain that and ultimately ensure that power comes not and is not sustained by the barrel of the gun, but by the will of the people? So in my view, the jury is still out on whether those countries that I've mentioned are successful. And the jury will remain out for consideration on how their performance is until such a time as the thing that they are doing are successful. And remember that in the Sahel, in Niger, almost half of the country is under insurgency.
Yes.
In Mali, almost half of the country is under insurgency.
Yes.
In Burkina, almost half of the country is under insurgency. There is work to be done.
Yes, there's work.
So let us not, in my view, say that these are exemplary countries. No, our duty is to support them and to do what we humanly can to help them move in the right direction. Because I assure you, countries that appear to be doing well, today, many are writing the obituaries. Libya's Muammar al-Gaddafi, the Assad's, Syria, Madagascar under Rajuel, when he himself was in the process, removed people through the streets. Now even his citizenship of Madagascar has been revoked after 16 years. It's never easy. As once again, I say this ad nauseum, always remember that it is intergenerational. Part of Africa's problem is to look for Messiah leaders.
Okay.
What I call the Jehovah complex. And once you treat people like God for too long, they begin to think that they are gods. People in position of leadership must always be reminded, you are not the best of us. We have merely entrusted you with a position of honor to serve us. But once you deify leaders, once you make them think that they are God, once you make them think that they know everything, that they have the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom, sooner rather than later, they become monsters. And history has no shortage of monsters who started well. If you look at Hitler in his early days, perhaps he was not the Hitler that we ended up with. If you look at Mussolini, perhaps it is not the Mussolini that we started with. If you look at Attila the Hun, perhaps it is not Attila the Hun that we started with. If you look at Idi Amin in Uganda, the Amin we started with is not the Amin we ended up with. If you look at Robert Gabriel Mugabe, the Mugabe that we started with is not the Mugabe that we ended up with.
Definitely.
So let us be slow to canonize people. Let us be quick to help them to realize you are only but human. Serving us will support you.
Yeah.
Yes.
When a person does his or her job, you're not supposed to clap for them.
To appreciate is good.
To appreciate.
When people do their job well, it's good to say, you've done well.
You've done well. But
don't say as if they are the ones who hold the yam and the knife, and therefore they do you a favor by giving you the yam. The yam was yours anyway.
Yeah, it's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't clap. You don't throw a party for a janitor when he or she cleans the...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, we can give you a bonus to appreciate you.
Yeah. Prof, wow. Really, really good insights from Prof. As we're inching closer to close, I just want to say that the problem with some of us Gen Zs is that I think the anger is so much to a point where we don't listen to wisdom from the from the elderly. I think that not all our elders should advise us, because I can't say a lot, but I can say a significant number of our elders have let us down. But people like you, people like Elder Maponga, people like Dr. Arikana, there are many examples that we can, there are many examples of our elders who we can seek wisdom to. And I think the problem with us Gen Zs and what we're not talking about is who are the right elders we should seek wisdom. We are too agitated, which is understandably so, but we need to seek wisdom from the right elders. And I think that's what us Kenyans should do. We should, probably for me, if you ask me, I think you're the person in Kenya who we should seek wisdom from.
Humility is a very important thing. If you look at Greek mythology, allow me because it's documented.
Yes.
When the oracle of Delphi wanted to know who the wisest person was in Greece of old, he went out to many of the wise people at that time, Aristophanes, Sophocles. But when the oracle went to Socrates and asked Socrates, what do you know? Socrates said, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. And the oracle came back to the gods and said, the wisest man in Greece is Socrates. Simplicity. knowing that you do not have the monopoly of wisdom and knowledge is the first enlightenment. In 1982, I think, when I watched, or in the 80s, I may not be exact about the year, when I watched the film Gandhi to dramatize the life of Mohandas Gandhi for the first time.
Great movie.
Great movie, directed by Richard Attenborough.
Yes.
There is a time when the Mahatma is in a hall with young people, and the Mahatma is talking about non-violence. And one young person stands up and shouts at the Mahatma. And this is what he said: "We need your anger. Your anger is necessary. But that anger must be canalized." Because when water is canalized, these are now my words, it can generate electricity. It can move mountains. Anger which is directionless, which is not canalized, only leads to chaos. And when you therefore are canalizing anger, it is always important to go back to those who have lived before you, because they'll tell you, we walked this path, there were landmines. I remember when Kenya's Martin Shikuku was on his deathbed at Kenyatta Hospital, he called me.
Oh, wow.
And when I went to visit him, he asked me a question that was very interesting. He said, "Do they teach experience at the university?" I said, "No." He said, "I'm telling you that because experience is experienced. It is not taught. The reason why you consult people who are older than you is because they have experienced certain things. They can therefore make your journey shorter by telling you, I followed this path. It was longer and fraught with danger. Follow this path." And remember that youth is not a permanent stage. Those who are young now will be old tomorrow. Once you realize that, then you only know that yours is to play your part.
Yes, yes.
And once you play your part well, as to whether you succeeded, that is the verdict of history.
Yes. Wow, wow. As we inch closer, Prof, when the untimely demise of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, when I saw that news, immediately what I said was, I pray that this will be the end of personality politics and the beginning of ideology in our political realm. Because for so long, and you can see the peril of looking to one person for so long, giving him that pressure of, hey, we need you. But in actuality, what we need is that we need to push ideology. We need to push, we need to push ideology to the forefront before these politicians.
Without doubt, I've always held the view that once again, history is consistent. You build institutions. Human beings are here today, they are gone tomorrow. So if you invest in human beings, then you will be disappointed. You must, and it's the duty of those human beings when they are alive and well, to build institutions. And we have people who over the ages, even in Africa, who built institutions so that even when they departed, those institutions survived them. Nyerere built institutions. Machel built institutions and was part of institution building. Of course, you may say a few problems are here and there, but it is in the nature of human institution that they must have problems over there. But you can look at institution. The African National Congress may have its own problems, but it was institutionalized. SWAPO has its problems, but is institutionalized. So I pray and hope that not only in Kenya, but in Africa, we'll begin to invest more in institutions rather than individuals. And individuals also have a duty to ensure that they build others. You are not a leader unless you create leaders. He or she who claims to be a leader and has only created maniacal followers is not a leader.
True.
You've got to create leaders who are better than you and enable leaders who are better than you. Then you are a leader. But if you only have people who sing your praises and consider you to be some kind of God, then your leadership must be called into question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When we met for the first time, we were talking about how the Kenyan Pan-African level is very low, you know. And if you look at the platforms on YouTube, in Kenyan-based that are speaking about Pan-Africanism is very few. It's very few, and we are one of them. Probably even less than 5, if I'm not wrong. And Alpha House being one of them, Lean being one of them, Sell Africa to Africans being one of them, but it's very few in Kenya. Prof, what do you think is the problem?
The problem is the leadership. When Kenya regained our independence, we quickly degenerated into ethnicity. It is true that Jomo Kenyatta attended the 1945 meeting of the Pan-African Congress.
Yes.
It is true that in the early days, there were Kenyans who were in the Pan-African movement, particularly in the labor movement, people like Thomas Joseph Mboya and Dennis Akumu, they were in the Pan-African movement.
Yes.
But as a nation, we very quickly degenerated into ethnicity. Because we regained independence in 1963 in the entity that is called Kenya. In 1964, we begin to fight from even the very formation of the Kenya African National Union is a Kikuyu-Luo alliance in many ways. KADU is an alliance of the smaller ethnicities. And when KADU dissolves herself and joins KANU, our politics is ethnically defined.
Yes.
And when Oginga or Odinga formed the Kenya People's Union, no sooner has the party settled that it becomes a Luo party.
Yeah.
So that we have always been consumed in politics of ethnic personalities. When the Luos are following their leader, he becomes their leader because he's the ethnic kingpin. The Kenyatta becomes a Kikuyu kingpin. Moi becomes a Kalenjin kingpin. Gideon Gala was also considered in that vein. So we are so consumed in ethnicity that we are incapable of seeing the larger picture. And you can see even during the struggle for the apartheid movement, the Kenyan foreign policy was ambivalent. You are seen at certain times to be sympathetic to apartheid. We are seen at certain times to be sympathetic to the oppressive forces even in Zimbabwe, then Rhodesia. So our politics has always been the politics of ethnicity and personality worship. And that is why our Pan-Africanism has never been manifest. When you travel out of the country, Kenyans are divided into ethnicities. Even in the United States of America, you find the Abagusi here, the Agikoyo here, the Luos here, the Kambas here. I was invited to the United States of America by Tanzanians. Not Wanyamwezi, not Wahaya, by Tanzanians. But Kenya, ethnicities. You go to Kenyan universities, students are divided into public university. Luo Students Association, Kamba Students Association. You go to the lawyers in Kenya, they are divided into ethnicities. Can you believe it? In the 21st century, professionals are identifying themselves as ethnicities. And then you say we are going to be Pan-Africanist? When do they begin to think about Africa? When enlightened professionals are divided along ethnic lines. They have the Engineering Students Association, they have the Law Society of Kenya, but they are not satisfied with that. They still want to be Abagusi. They still want to be Luo. They still want to be Luhia. They still want to be Kikuyus. They still want to be Kambas. When people reason like that, then they are not good for Africa. They are not good for the unity of Africa. Their village mentality, their education has not liberated them. And I'm therefore answering your direct question that Kenyans must exorcise the ghost of negative ethnicity, as Koigi wa Amwere calls it. Exorcise that ghost. When the ghost is no longer resident in their minds and hearts, then the spirit of Pan-Africanism will have space. For the moment, that space is occupied by the ghost of ethnicity. So there is no room.
And you know what's funny, Prof, is that a lot of Gen Zs, if not most, don't even speak their mother tongue, but still the tribalism is still, even in our Gen Z generation, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even speak my mother tongue, but you find that, you know, you still have Gen Zs who are still
congregating around.
Yes.
I call them the low voltage ethnic warlords. Low voltage because for the moment their followers don't bear arms.
Oh.
The day they bear arms. And we are in danger of that. When people talk about Haiti,
wow,
the gang started in this way. They first start by wielding stone, then they graduate to machetes, then they get into AK-47. And then you lose your country.
Wow. Prof, what are your last words, especially to, if you can look at this camera, what are your last words to, first of all, Tanzania? Because it's crazy what's happening there, and we wish them all the best. We wish that peace prevailed, and ultimately to the global African race.
You know, the United Republic of Tanzania must remain united. The work that was done by Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere and Sheikh Amri Abeid Karume and their colleagues must not be undone. Tanzania has remained the country that we give as an example where sobriety prevails. It has remained an example of a country which has defeated ethnicity and allowed national unity to occupy pride of place. Let what not happened on 29th of October remain what defines Tanzania. CCM, which is the mother party, has a duty to call all other parties to the table for purposes of discussing the future of Tanzania. It is the strong that accommodate. Let Tanzania be what it was imagined to be by its founders, led by Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. Let us not write the obituary of a peaceful Tanzania. Let us make Tanzania the great country that is meant to be.
Prof, please come back again. Please come back again. We are really, really proud to have you here. There are many things that we can spend the whole day. The thing about Pan-Africans is that we can spend the whole day talking about this continent. That's how much the problems in this continent are so deep. You know, and you've been all over. You've been all over this country. You've been all over the world. And I pray that people take your words seriously. You know, all these politicians, even in this country, they should take you seriously because you hold such wisdom and such knowledge and such love for our people that they should just sit down and say, wait, why are we not listening to people like Professor PLO? Why are we not listening to people like Maponga? Why are we not listening to people like Arikana? Even abroad, why are we not listening to other Pan-Africans outside of Africa? Why are they saying the same thing over and over again? Because there is rightness, there is correctness, there is sense to what the message of Pan-Africanism is. So, Prof, you are an icon, you are a legend, you are somebody that deserves to be given all the respect. And I hope, you know, like I'm assuming that you've advised a lot of African leaders. Do they take you seriously?
You know, sometimes Somebody once asked me, you write letters,
Yes.
you say things. Why do you do this? Do they ever respond? And this was my answer. This individual was a Christian. And I told the individual, when you read your Bible, there are letters written by Paul to the Corinthians, to the Galatians, to the Philippians, to the Ephesians. Did you ever see reply by Ephesians, response by Corinthians? Our duty is to keep on saying what we consider to be right without the arrogance of believing that we ourselves are always right. That is our duty, to point out that your white garment has a black spot on it, or that your black garment has a white spot on it. Some will dismiss you. Some will hate you for it. But as I said a little earlier, lies take the elevator. Truth walks the stairs, but ultimately it is the one that survives. So in Africa today, some of the things that some of us have been saying are now being proved right. We are being vindicated. I've been at forums before the war in Sudan. I was at a meeting in Bahir Dar in the presence of General Burhan. And I said during that meeting, Sudan is going to burn if you don't take action. Today, Sudan is the way it is.
Crazy.
And the world is silent about, the world talks about Gaza. African media don't even mention Sudan unless they are quoting European agencies, news agencies. There are no African anchors in El Fasher, in Darfur. It is Al Jazeera that is there. It is CNN that is there. So the time is now for African leaders. The other day, I wrote to the chair of African Union to stop issuing these quick congratulatory notes when elections are disputed, but instead to be present as a means of resolving the issue. I told them, you are quick to send congratulatory notes to Cameroon, and everybody knows that that president did not win the election. What are you doing? In Tanzania, they have already sent a congratulatory note. In my view, whenever there is a dispute, the first thing you do is to bring the parties together.
Yeah.
So this is the time also to re-examine the efficacy of African institutions. All the regional bodies, we must ask, how are they performing? East African Community, SADC, ECOWAS, Central Africa, Maghreb, IGAD, African Union, COMESA, all of them, we've got to ask, why are they underperforming? Why can't they be felt by Africans? If you talk to those who are refugees in Chad from Sudan, or the South Sudanese who are refugees in Kakuma, or the Burundians who are refugees in Kakuma, or the Congolese who are refugees in Rwanda and Uganda, and you tell them there is a body called East African Community or African Union, they'll say, what does that body do? We must, as Africans, go back to the basics. It's not going to be easy because we have individuals in position of power who want to retain it by any means necessary. But we have also seen that when the people have resolved, those fellows will run away with a suitcase, them and their families. Unfortunate, but sometimes it becomes necessary that they just run away so that they leave us with our countries to reorganize them whichever way we deem fit. Thank you.